Hello, everybody, and welcome to. Wait a minute. What show is this? What seat am I in? Hold on. We need to do that again.
Yeah, for sure.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Producer Cupe After Dark. I am your host, Producer Cupe, and with me is a familiar face, Mr. NBA here at OTM. OTM Senior NBA Analyst, Mr. John Bachmann. Bach, how is it going this evening?
It's going good, man. I'm trying to keep an eye on the lineups tonight, the games that are going on. So if you see me look down at my phone, I'm just checking for late breaking player news.
He's continuously sweating, everybody. And today we have an awesome show for you. We're going to dive into Bachs' experience of the Fanduel virtual final. And he was fortunate enough to win a seat. So we're going to hear all about that experience. Bach, one thing I wanted to hit on kind of before we jumped into it is I love the NBA senior analyst role for you because the Discord, the Mission Control Center, some of the comments in there crack me up that it makes you sound old. So we may need to workshop that title, but I love saying NBA senior analyst because it literally does make me crack up laughing every single time. But yeah, so want to jump right in. Want to give the people some insights into the live final experience, and I was fortunate enough to follow along a little bit, but I want to get inside your brain. I have many questions, so maybe we just started off. Tell us about the qualifier, how you qualified, what you were, was that a goal of yours this year, and just talk about kind of actually qualifying and getting to enjoy the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it probably started in earnest last year, me playing a lot of NBA DFS, mostly single game, just because it's a little bit simpler. It takes a little bit less focus. Did pretty well on single game last year and then did well on NFL. This year was able to build up a bankroll. But, especially since Top Shot started, playing DFS for me is part of my process of staying up to date on players. You've got to know who's in, who's out, who the young guy that no one's heard of is that you're going to plug into your lineup and it's going to go off. And so it's part of my process of staying up to date on the NBA for Top Shot more so than, I enjoy DFS for sure, but I think I really got into, especially playing full slates because of that, desire. And then just as I was playing, I thought this would be a really cool experience to have. And so I started playing some qualifiers and was lucky enough to hit one that was like a random night. And I swapped onto Juan Toscano Anderson late and he went off. And he doesn't have a moment yet, but you better believe when he does, I'm buying them all.
That's awesome. When was it that you qualified?
This was that's a good question. Probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think like late March, early April. I think I was actually late March that I qualified. So I've been like sweating this past weekend for a while since then. Like, it's a $2 million prize pool and they pay everyone out $8K for qualifying. So it's essentially, you make $8K just for qualifying. And then it's a 1.2 million prize pool with 100 entrants, 500K to first. And so, it's certainly higher stakes than I would ever play a $12,000 entry tournament. I'm not one of, I'm not Awesemo or Empire Maker over here. It was cool to be in that, have that experience and to be, the other thing that's unique about it is like, it's 100 people and it's all qualifications. So, that everyone in there is pretty good. Now, maybe somebody, who doesn't play a lot through a lineup and got lucky, but most of the guys and a lot of the big shots had multiple entries. So, they're thinking about game theory. And it's an interesting thought experiment. Like, how do I outsmart people who are probably better at this than I am and who have multiple bites at the apple so they get to kind of optimize among their lineups and you've only got one bullet.
Yeah, I love this. I think first, like, shout out to you. Is this is this the first time you were, been firing multiple times at a qualifier? Because I know everyone sort of in the DFS world talks about how, qualifiers are tough because they really eat away at your EV and it's hard to make money. But just talk to me about, how long have you been firing at qualifiers and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I've probably been doing it in earnest for probably a month and a half before. So I definitely think, it was positive EV for me, even though I didn't end up, to give away the end. I didn't end up smashing in the live final. There was definitely still positive EV for me. I probably about a month where I was playing some of the higher stakes qualifier entries. So, I've actually gotten lucky since then. I was able to qualify for their second live final. This one being less of a, it's like a $500,000 to first 75 entry tournament, but it's also more of an experiential. It's going to be in person in Miami. So really hoping I'll be able to, go COVID restrictions wise, take my wife, use it as a good excuse to say, this is why DFS is fun.
Yeah, the man is literally on fire, everyone. I mean, he's making all the right decisions. It's just awesome to hear. So not to give away the end, but talk to me a little bit about okay, you qualified. I did see, to your point, a couple of the big names. I saw Osimo had 6 seats.
Yep.
FJ Bourne, I think, had 2 or 3 seats.
Yeah.
So when you looked at the final list of participants, who you were going to have to go against, and ultimately the goal of trying to take it home, how did you think about your lineup, and how did you think about the chalk versus maybe someone who was, in your mind, going to be undervalued and potentially had that high upside potential?
Yeah, I think when I say I talked to TJ and Justin, who are DFS pros in the NFL world and in the PGA world and others, but specifically both of them NFL, and have done things like live finals before, a little bit about the strategy, and got some coaching from them. I think, where I landed was I wanted to go with one contrarian play in the very early in the slate, knowing that if that contrarian play hit, I would be in really good shape. And if that contrarian play didn't hit, I wouldn't be dead in the water, but I could know that I needed to make different pivots late. I think that the slate itself was actually kind of a bummer slate for a live final. And the reason I say that is the very last game of the slate, Houston was 16-point underdogs, and it should have been 30, is what I said to a friend, we were playing golf that day. And they only had 7 guys that were healthy for the game. So you knew they were all going to get minutes, and you knew that some number of them were going to hit, because somebody literally had to score and get rebounds and get assists for Houston. And so you had to kind of get lucky in picking the right chalk from Houston. And, but it's kind of a bummer for a live final slate, because just so many of those guys are just in every single lineup. That said, I still executed my strategy. And, the guy that I picked, the contrarian play, was Jakar Sampson. Came out kind of close to lock that he was starting. He was a pivot at power forward. I can actually share my lineup real quick.
Yeah, let's do it. And for myself, who's pure noob from an NBA DFS standpoint on Fanduel specifically, you can swap. So swapping out plays after the lock is one of the things that can be done. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, this was a late swap, and now I just pulled this up and now I don't see it. So let me see if I can get to it real quick.
Yeah, no worries. And so, just thinking about Houston being the last game on the slate, definitely from a swap standpoint, pretty tough to think about pivots when they're going to be at least somewhat chalky, knowing that they only had so many players to play.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that now I'm having trouble. So I'm not going to share my screen right now, but can talk through it. Yeah, I think Houston was having some trouble, or Houston only having 7 guys being late, being the chalk, was definitely a really hard pivot, because you couldn't really pivot off. You just had to pick the right Houston guys. I ended up picking the right Houston guys, generally speaking. The other thing that was weird about Houston, and FanDuel has 9 spots, but not much positional flexibility. My contrarian play was a power forward. And that meant I couldn't play one of the 3 power forwards that Houston had. And so, looking back, obviously, I think the strategy that I went with was probably fine. The specific play that I went with in terms of the contrarian play, maybe I should have kept those Houston guys available at power forward and gone somewhere else. But, Jakar Sampson came out late that he was going to be starting. Was projected to be super under-owned. I actually subscribed to multiple different projection sites that I wouldn't otherwise, to try to just triangulate where do I think Roto Grinders players are going to be playing, Osmo players are going to be playing. And he was definitely a guy who was projected to be super low owned. And, there was a reason. I think he fouled out after like 18 minutes or 20 minutes of game time. And just like, come on, man, stop hacking people out there.
Yeah, I remember seeing the text come through that he got into foul trouble, and obviously not the best situation to be in from a contrarian play standpoint.
Right.
But talk about your core. I guess where did you land on kind of core players that you knew you were going to put in and you didn't want to come off of?
Yeah, I think there were a couple guys there. Kelly Olynyk, I think, was in pretty much every lineup at the center. There just wasn't a lot to get off of him with. I think that Malcolm Brogdon was in most lineups. He was actually a guy that I considered for a while being my pivot, my don't play this chalk and play someone else instead. And that would have worked out fine. He did all right, not great, not terrible, but ended up playing him, and I think he was super high owned. See, I can still see it on my screen, so I'll just look real quick. Malcolm Brogdon was 58% owned. Jimmy Butler was 73% owned. I had him pretty much everywhere. But again, it was an interesting day in that there wasn't a ton of people who were low owned who went off. It was just having the right combination of the Houston guys and the right combination of the Houston guys, and then I think the winning lineup. And I wish I could show you guys this. I'm very frustrated that I can't. But the winning lineup had PJ Dozier, which was who was a kind of lower owned guy. He was owned at 26%, and then had DJ Wilson, who was owned at 23%, and actually didn't have Kelly Olynyk, had Mason Plumlee, and that was the real contrarian play there. Olynyk was 57% owned. Plumlee was 3% owned, and Plumlee outscored him by 8 points or something. So
wow,
yeah,
crazy stuff. All right, I think we dove into the lineup and some of the key decisions. Let's talk about what the people really want to hear about, the experience. So when you qualified, what did you get? Did you get some swag from Fanduel? What did they give you?
Yeah, it was really cool. They did a great job despite it being virtual. I think this is, this past year, normally these things would all be in person, as we called out. The one in July in Miami on a yacht is obviously in person. This one was fully virtual. And so they had to figure out a way to make it still fun. And I thought FanDuel did a great job of that. They, a couple of things. They sent us a really cool drink making kit and had an event on Friday night where they made drinks, and the drink making kit is right here. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to pull this one up. I got Awesomo's Twitter up. I of course didn't think to take a picture of it because I just don't think about things like that. But Awesemo gets to do this all the time, so he knows he's got to tout it. But they sent us this really cool drink making kit. Can you see my screen?
Looking like it's coming up now. Let me bring it on. Here we go.
Yeah. So you've got this really cool drink making kit. They sent us Maker's Mark and bitters and this cool little baseball bat styled muddler to make old fashions. And so Friday night they had a thing, they had a few hour event where they did that, showed us how to make old fashions and gave us the old fashioned makings. They had Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith on and did kind of an interview in a Family Feud style game. That was fun just to see Charles kind of a little more unfiltered than you see him even on Inside the NBA.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then, they did some ridiculous trivia, like how many points is a 3-pointer worth, or questions, like that, to just give you, an excuse to give you free money. And then lastly, kind of one of the signature events was a physical sports card break. And so I'd never done a physical
sports cards. No, I'm just kidding.
I've
heard these are super awesome. So I'm excited to hear about this.
I'd never done a physical sports card break before, right? And I joked about halfway through when I had nothing that I'm too into Top Shot for them to be willing to give me good physical cards. And they did it where basically in certain sets of boxes, that the break is just opening a box of cards. In certain sets of boxes, people were randomly assigned and then got some number of cards. And I got the Pelicans, which was cool because they broke last year physical card boxes. So I ended up getting 2 Zions. I have no idea.
Nice.
I have no idea what they're worth because it's impossible to tell what physical cards are worth, which is the whole problem. Which why
shout out Top Shot.
Better. Yeah, exactly. But it was definitely it was fun experience to be on and see. And the guy that they had doing it, runs a company that does this and was getting real into it. And there were a couple where he kind of lost his mind, and so you're like, I know that must be pretty cool. Somebody got a really rare Ja Morant, I think, from the same set of boxes, and they're like, this is either Ja or Zion, and I'm like, come on, be a Zion, and it wasn't. But I got some pretty cool ones, I think, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Probably rub my fingers all over them and then put them in a drawer somewhere. But
PSA grading is going to look like it's a 7 or 8 if you rub those fingers too hard, Bach. I think.
Yeah, I've still got to figure out what all that means, I think, but.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. All right. So lineup locks, you made your decisions. It's time to sort of sweat the games. What did you do? Where were you? What was your beverages of choice for trying to calm the nerves?
Yeah. So I actually, during the day, I got a few buddies and we all went golfing. I was like, if I'm not doing something fun, I'm just going to be staring at lineups all day. And that's not productive, especially in NBA, right? So much of it is just pay attention towards lock time. You got to go in with a little bit of a strategy, but I really didn't start doing much research until about 3 or 4 o'clock. Beyond just knowing what teams were playing and the major injury news coming into the day, because so much of it breaks after that time. So I went golfing, came back, set lineups, and then after lineup set, I've got a buddy who's got a bar in the back of his house. So he's got 4 TVs, he's got a few beers on tap, and so I just invited a few friends over, and we just put basketball up and watched and kind of chatted. And because it's late swap, you got to be paying enough attention to generally know how your guys are doing, and if there's any pivots you want to make. But at the same time, I was trying to not focus on every single play too much, because I knew that was going to drive me crazy. And probably, the good and bad news for me was with the early game being my contrarian play that didn't hit. I kind of knew early on, all right, I'm not really alive here. And so I will be able to just focus on, enjoying some of the games and hanging out. They gave us $100 Uber Eats credit, so we ordered a whole gang of wings, that sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. It's tough to be sort of not live initially, right away, but also I guess for first live final or virtual final experience, cool to be able to hang out with some of your best friends, and I think that's ultimately an experience I'm sure that you'll remember for a long time. Shout out your buddy's place. Sounds like a pretty awesome house and a sweet little bar that he has set up there. Yeah,
it for sure is.
Awesome. So I guess to sort of, well, I guess first, where did you finish? What did you ultimately end up taking home?
Yeah, so I finished 43rd out of 100, and so that got me kind of an incremental $2,000. And the payout structure was, last to 70th gets nothing, 70th to 45th gets 1,000. 45th to 30th or 25th or whatever gets 4,000. So for a while, it was looking like I might be on that $4,000 cut line, and then they benched the 2 Houston players I did have in the blowout, because evidently when you've got 7 guys, there's 2 whose minutes you need to protect and 5 who you just play the entire game. So I was a little bit sad about that towards the end, but I was able to just kind of watch the end of the game and ended up finishing 43rd. I thought for a while I was going to be 47th and get the 1,000, but made a little bit. Honestly, I'm probably more than the money proud to be in the top half of a group like that, because like I said, the names and the DFS talent of a lot of those guys is definitely more than mine. So. Yeah,
top half is fantastic. And then I guess sort of to wrap the live final experience, what are you looking forward to for Miami? Congrats, by the way, I guess. Nice. First, congrats. What are you looking forward to, and what do you think maybe biggest thing that you took from this experience that you'll take into the next, what is it, next month, essentially, right? Next couple of weeks?
It's actually
next
in July. Month. It's in July.
A couple months. Okay.
It'll be interesting. I think that the most interesting part about that live final is it'll be single game, which is almost like a little bit more my wheelhouse. I probably played a lot more NBA single game than a lot of guys. I think that for single game especially, it's less about like not having the right 5 guys, and it's more about having the right order of the 5 guys, because FanDuel does
leveraging the multipliers, right?
Right, a 2x, a 1-5, a 1-2. But obviously, like, the other thing about it is it's July 11th. It's a Sunday of the NBA Finals, right? So you're going to be watching an NBA Finals game with 150 to first on the line, sitting on a yacht that they rent, that 200-foot yacht that they rent out for this big yacht party. Like, the good news, for whatever it's that's worth, is like lock is going to happen, and there's nothing you do at that point except cheer in the last 45 seconds for somebody to get an extra rebound and like seal first for you. So I'm hopeful that we're able to make it down to Miami, and that everything works out, that we can actually go in person and enjoy that ambiance and the atmosphere, and getting to see some of those guys, and rep some OTM gear down there.
Yeah, absolutely. How's your wife feeling about that trip? Is she hoping that it's able to be in person, I assume?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she is. We got to, I think she's excited to go. Normally DFS is such a time drain on, my time with her. So this is a nice thing to get to be like, no. See, there's upside for you too. Let me keep doing this.
Nothing like securing the next season's
That's
time
right.
with the significant others. That is awesome. I think what an experience, and like I said, congrats to you. What a solid first performance, and the best part is you're going to get another crack at it, which is fantastic. I'm pumped to see some champagne shots of popping champagne on a massive yacht down there in Miami. So, but I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be awesome. I'm really excited.
All right, so let's bring it back to the Top Shot ramifications. And I guess maybe I'm interested in just understanding, to your point earlier about your process for what all you're doing for us at OTM, and how kind of DFS fits into how you look at NBA players, and maybe even how you're evaluating Top Shot moments. I'd be curious to understand how you look at that.
Yeah, I think that DFS just keeps you sharp on some of the guys who are kind of under the radar at having big games. And like, I'll throw out a name that I'm imagining you've probably never heard of before, O'Shea Brissett, right? He's a guy who's been playing for the Pacers over the past week or so because Sabonis has been out, because Gogo Batazde has been out, because Miles Turner's been out, and actually been playing like pretty well. Now, do I think he's ever going to be a starter in the league? Probably not, right? But I think guys like that, guys like Kevin Porter Jr.'s explosion when he went to Houston at midseason, I think it keeps you sharp on some of those more under the radar guys, because if you're not playing them in DFS, you're behind the pros, right? And so knowing about them from DFS also allows you to keep an eye on their Top Shot moments. And if you see them string a couple good games together and they have Top Shot moments, and you say, okay, this is a guy who maybe I go target. So I think that it definitely plays a big part, and it also, I think, just reinforces, like, I watch a lot of basketball because of DFS and because of Top Shot. So those two things actually like let me watch, grind the tape basically, and say, no, this guy's not just putting up numbers on a bad team. Like, this guy's actually good, or now this guy's just putting up numbers on a bad team because there's no one to play any minutes there.
Yeah, nothing like getting ragged on my own show that I have no idea who the hell this guy is on the Pacers.
I mean, maybe you do, but
I did not. But
yeah.
I know that my New York Knicks are super, super hot at the moment. CP3, the point guard, took them down for I think they were on a 9-game winning streak, right? That was for 10. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Knicks jumping into the playoffs, and man, I think that's going to be fun to watch. I've watched more basketball, NBA regular season basketball this year than I think I've probably ever watched in my life, all because of Top Shot, and all just because I think the product It honestly is. It is really fun to watch. I think in watching sports, I watch a lot of hockey. I'm a hockey fan. I never really watched too much basketball just because I didn't really understand the game. But man, the NBA does a fantastic job at making it super fun. And I think there's something to be said about fan engagement. And I think Top Shot is another layer into what the NBA is doing to engage fans that are super casual. So super fun to see where this thing is headed in the future. But I'm pumped for playoffs. The play-in idea is pretty cool, and I think it's gonna be fun to see who ends up securing some of these first round matchups and watching how that unfolds.
Yeah, and maybe to tout my own product a little bit so that people will read and look at it. One of the things that playing DFS also does is it helps me with like the weekly recap article. And so I'll just pull up the article that we have from last week. I'm putting the finishing touches on this week's right now, but I'll just pull up last week's here really quickly, and you can see kind of I've been just trying to give folks an overview of what we're seeing in the week, trying to be just a quick rundown so that you can see. Just read through this and get a general sense. And so let me just try to zoom this in a little bit. But you can see, last week, a lot of the focus of the article was on injuries. And so if you're not paying a ton of attention to, Top Shot on a daily basis or to the NBA on a daily basis, you might not see like LeBron, AD, Jamal, Donovan, Dame, Kawhi all out right in the West. And that was just the Western Conference. And so just giving folks a little bit of an overview. This week's one of the big bullets here is going to be around the Knicks because of that 9-game win streak and just what Julius Randle's been doing, as well as kind of an awards update. And I think, for me, part of what I've been doing is I've been, using DFS to inform the research, using this research to inform some of my Top Shot targets, like, Julius Randle's for sure going to win Most Improved Player of the Year this year. It's not close. Jordan Clarkson's for sure going to win Sixth Man. In some cases, those things might be baked in, right? But Jordan Clarkson winning Sixth Man of the Year, like, is that really baked into his moments? No. Is it going to give him a big jump? It's hard to say because we haven't really been live with Top Shot to know that, to see those postseason awards get announced and see what impact it has. And we don't know where they might or might not end up adding badges for those sorts of things. But I think it's good to be aware of that. And like a guy that I targeted after writing the article actually was Bogdan Bogdanovic for the Hawks. I mean, he's just been absolutely on fire over the past, since his return from injury, which is about 22 games now. And I think he's going to be a guy who is going to go off in the playoffs when there's a lot of eyeballs on Top Shot from more casual fans. As I'm anticipating, no inside info, that they're going to start marketing pushes. And so I think, for me, DFS helps keep me up to date on NBA and NBA players, helps me write this weekly recap article, and helps kind of inform my Top Shot strategy, where I'm more in the vein of optimizing on challenges, but also trying to find some guys that I think have differential value in the future, as we all are. But mine's mostly from like an NBA lens and an NBA talent and playoff opportunity lens.
Yeah, I love the playoff opportunity piece. I think the article is fantastic as someone who doesn't watch all the games or isn't really kind of in tune to the box scores as much as you are, obviously, given the DFS angle. I think the article really does a great job at saying, here's individual players that are having really, really good seasons and or success. Here's some things about injury. I thought that was super interesting. One of the moments that I've still got on kind of my wish list is one of the Jamal Murray moments. And so thinking about kind of when does he come back? How do you time the market? What's going to happen? And just watching that market. And I think you hit on something that we're seeing kind of play out right now in Top Shot is you're going to have to do more analysis to be able to understand those moments that are going to see increases in price. It's not just going to be a game where we're going to see everything, rise. I think you're going to see, as this progresses forward, maybe we see a little bit of a broad market bump. Obviously, the more people we are able to get into this, but as the game continues to move forward, I think evaluating and understanding things like, okay, this guy is an opportunity in the playoffs to really stand out when a first round matchup comes and he's scoring 30 a night over the first couple of games. People are going to want to understand, but one, they're going to see that if you're watching or paying attention to the NBA, and they're going to want to get that moment potentially. And so there's a good reason for some of these upticks in price that we could potentially see as we move forward.
Yeah, completely agree. And especially with some of the tools that are out there, like the value of individual like mispriced moments and that sort of thing is gone. You need to be ahead of the curve. And one of the things that I think, in next week's article, weekly recap, I finished this week's mostly talking about awards and playoffs this week, because thank God we don't have more injuries to talk about and actually get to celebrate some of the big guys coming back, like Anthony Davis, KD. But I think next week, we'll be pretty focused on guys who have some specific playoff opportunity as those seeds start to lock in. Like, one of the things I'm most excited about is getting to see the Wizards in the 10 seed, because I guarantee you nobody wants to play Russ and Bradley Beal in a one game.
Bradley Beal went off last night, right? Like 40 points or something like that the other night.
Yeah, he went off. Russ is averaging a triple double over his past like 30 or something absurd, or maybe it's not quite a triple double, but nearly a triple double. Like, I mean, they're just playing out of their mind. And like, are you going to bet against Russell Westbrook in a one game against like against like the Hornets, right? Not like a team that has a superstar. I'm not. So I'm super excited to see those playing games, and I'm super excited to see what kind of opportunity it gives to some guys like, like some of those Wizards if they make it, like some of the Hornets, who I actually do love the Hornets, especially if LaMelo comes back. But like just so many eyeballs on one game, and then if they advance, so many more eyeballs in those big series and an opportunity to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, and I think from a casual outsider standpoint, a lot of the times you hear people say, "Well, in the NBA regular season, people don't try." Well, a playoff game, a play-in game that's one game is going to be unreal. The talent is going to be absolutely superb. I think anybody in the NBA is absolutely incredible at basketball, but seeing those guys elevate their game in sort of a one game do or die scenario should be super fun to witness for sure.
Yeah, like, can you imagine Russell Westbrook not playing 45 minutes in a one game winner take all? Like, I can't.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to get just about every minute available. So we'll see what happens. Awesome. Yeah. So I think the one piece that we want to make sure that we hit on now is over the course of the last several weeks, anybody who's been following us at Own the Moment has obviously seen some of the upgrades that we've been making to the website. Got a major facelift. Shout out to Neil, TJ, and the guys that have been working behind the scenes on really polishing the product. We have a very big roadmap of features and things that we really want to do. There's so much to be done with the data and the analysis, and the community. The MCC is awesome at highlighting things that they like, showcasing where there's potential opportunity for things that aren't in the market that they want to see. But I think one focus area for us is we're trying to bring content to the OTM family via shows, podcasts. And I think what you're seeing these days is trying to also put written content together. So Bach is producing the updated player rankings. Now we've got the weekly article that's coming out. I wrote an article about the Holo pack drop and the legendary pack experience. And so we're doing our best to be able to bring some written content to the OTM family and get that on the site. So that's something that we're working on pretty diligently behind the scenes. So look for that to come soon. I won't nail us down to a timeline because I'm sure TJ and Neil would hate that. But absolutely want to bring that in as part of what we're offering from a website standpoint. So I wanted to make sure that I hit on that as well. Anything else, Bach, that you wanted to make sure that we hit on this show?
There was one other thing. I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Let's rip a pack.
Yeah, let's definitely rip a pack because Bach has been sitting on an MGLE pack, and we really want to know what's in there so that he can make best use of the current challenges that are happening out there right now. So want to rip open this rare pack.
Let's do it. All right, I'm going to share that.
All right, let's make sure we share audio. You know how to share audio?
Yep, I know. I know how to share audio. I'm just grabbing it right now.
All right, cool. Chrome tab.
Yep.
Share audio, little checkbox.
Yeah, let me know when you can see my screen.
And then let me add you in here. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
What's in here that we're looking for?
Oh man. I'm trying to
a target or two.
It's obviously the list is the list is interesting. I don't know that I really went through and said like this is the guy I want. I'm just hoping for honestly, I'm trying to complete all the cool cats. I know Justin would tell me it's not MPV positive, but I really want to do it. And I'm hoping for an opportunity to not have to go buy some of those 35cc comments. This is what I'm hoping for more than anything right now.
Yeah, I definitely think I think those people that have been invested in the cool cats are thinking the same. So let's do it. Let's rip it open. Let's see what we got.
All right. Ooh. All right. Can you hear, Coop?
Oh yeah, we're good.
All right. We'll go in reverse order here.
Reverse order, I like it. Common. Hamidou Diallo.
Killian Hayes. Oh, Duncan on Julius. I love it. All right. Xavier Tillman. There's
Xavier Tillman.
Love it.
Pretty low serial there too. 5380.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I love the it's still a little loud for me, but I love the rare pack music over the legendary pack music. Maybe that's a hot take.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out, see if I can. Is that a little better?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Alex Caruso himself.
Yeah. All right.
It's a pretty sweet moment, though. Nice block.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great block. I don't think the real Awesome can get up that high. All right, Bruce Brown. Is he one of the challenge guys?
I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, though.
Yeah, I don't recall. Oh, Aaron Gordon. I know he's not. He's been fun, though. And it's Jokic. Gotta love Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic is in there, too. Yep.
All right, let's see what we got here.
All right, man. Let's do it.
Oh, Jalen.
Nice serial there.
Yeah, and I think he's 83? the best guy in the set. That's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, love that.
That's awesome.
Great pack pull.
For sure. That's excellent.
All righty, Bach. It has been fun. Loved hearing about the live final experience. Really pumped to continue to read the article and stay abreast on random Indiana Pacer players that are putting up double-digit points on a weekly basis.
I'll keep
pumped to read more about it. Awesome. Any final words for the people?
No. Excited to get to keep talking playoffs, and NBA playoffs are one of my favorite times because everyone says regular season doesn't matter, playoffs do. So I'm sure we'll have lots of good NBA chatter in the MCC, and just keep tagging me in there, and I'll keep bantering with you.
Love that. All right, it has been another fantastic episode of Producer Cupe After Dark, and for now we are over and out. Talk to you next time.